The question, will there be sexual intercourse in heaven, is like a little child's question, whether you can eat candy while you're having intercourse. That's a funny question from the adult's point of view, but not the child's. Candy is his greatest pleasure. How can he conceive a pleasure so intense that it renders candy irrelevant? But only if you know two things can you compare them. And everybody who has tasted both of the delights of physical intercourse with the earthly beloved and the delights of spiritual intercourse with God, every single one testifies that there's simply no comparison. It's this spiritual intercourse with God that is the ecstasy that is imaged and hinted at in all earthly intercourse, physical or spiritual. And I think that's the ultimate reason why sexual passion is so strong and so different from other passions, so heavy with suggestions of profound meanings that always just elude our grasp. I don't think any practical need can account for it. I don't think any animal drive can explain it. No animal falls in love, or writes profound romantic poetry, or sees sex as a symbol of the ultimate meaning of life, because no animal is made in the image of God. Not just sexuality, but human sexuality is that image. And human sexuality is a foretaste of that self-giving, that losing and finding the whole self, a foretaste of that oneness in manyness that is the very life of the Trinity and the joy of the Trinity. And that's what we long for without knowing it. That's why we tremble to stand outside of ourselves in the other. That's why we long to give our whole selves, body and soul, because we are images of God, the sexual being. We love the other sex because God loves God. And this earthly love is so passionate because heaven is full of passion, of energy and dynamism. That's one of the reasons God invented families. You can't love or hate anybody as much as your own family. Families are full of passion. Heaven is not boring or blasé. It is passionate because God is passionate. Jesus Christ, who is our window to God, was not a stoic or a scribe or a scholar. He was a lover. I think we correctly deny that God has passions in the passive sense. He is not moved or driven or conditioned by them as we are. He cannot fall in love for the same reason the ocean cannot get wet. He is love. For the same reason a volcano can't get hot. But to think of the love that made the worlds, the love that became human and suffered alienation from itself and died to save us rebels, the love that gleamed through the fanatic joy of Jesus' obedience to the will of his Father, the love that shines in the eyes and lives of the saints, to think of this love as somehow less passionate than our little weak dribbles from that cataract, our temporary and tiny passions, this is a most disastrous fantasy. And that consuming love, that consuming fire, is our destined husband, according to his own promise. So, sex in heaven, indeed, and no pale, abstract, merely mental shadow of it either. It's earthly sex that's the shadow. And our earthly lives are a process of thickening so that we can share in the substance, becoming more like the heavenly fire so that we can endure more of the heavenly fire.